Hello, everyone. Next, we'll discuss the marking of the structural lines for facial rigging. Right-click on this line on the panel. This opens our help document. There are some screenshots. Show that how to mark these structural lines, as well as some explanations, and now, let's proceed with the marking. Firstly, this area on the top of the head. If our model is relatively standard, we can directly select this line. Simply click on Mark, and it's created if the model is non-standard. We can manually draw a line and select it. Let's proceed with marking now, the two lines for the eyebrows. The upper one, we enclose the entire eyebrow shape, then, mark one below. Why two lines? Because, during eyebrow movement, we prefer minimal deformation. The weight between these two lines will be distributed averagely for keeping smooth. Now, let's move on to marking the eye sockets. Double-click to select the eye socket lines around the eye, and they are divided into upper and lower lines. Let's deselect the lower ones. The upper line represents the upper eye socket. Then double-click to select it again. Now, deselect the upper ones. These lines can be marked the lower eye socket. Next up are the eyelids. Eyelids are similar to eye sockets. We'll select a circular lines. Then deselect the lower part and mark it. Then, this middle one is actually marks the center point of our eyeball. If the eyeball is spherical, we need to select all the vertices of it. Clicking here will automatically calculate the center point. If it's more elliptical, like the particular shape here, there might be more points in the front of the model. So, if we were to select all of them, it might not mark accurately. Rather than all points, we can select these two lines. Control plus right-click can switch vertices from lines. Then, we click on Mark here, it will automatically create a locator. In the center position of this eyeball. Let's continue. This one below is the cheekbone line, for example, approximately like this one. Mark it, then continue, the four lines of the lips. First are the outer two. For these two, we zoom into the mouth. Similarly, double-clicking can select this circular line. Let's deselect the lower lines. It's better that symmetrical left and right, this corner's angle is better. Mark the upper one. The lower line is the same. We select a circle, then deselect the upper part. When selecting lines, let's make sure they're consecutive so that it can create correct rigging elements. This is the lower line. Then the lips, for these two, it's the inner circular line here. Corresponding to the outer one, show separately, sorry. Selected the tongue. We can then select this inner circle, and similarly deselect by holding Ctrl. This is the upper one, and for the lower one, we proceed with the same method. Then, there is another line around the chin need to be marked. Let's select it. We can select them one segment and another consecutive. For the lines not a smooth one, just select them, follow the structure. Then, here is this circular line is the check. Let's select it and mark. There are two more behind it next. We see there are some points that need to be marked. Marking these structural points directly affects the rigging element positioning and the rigging result, as well as the automatic weighting result. First, there's a point between the two eyebrows for these 2 points. One is on the bridge of the nose, and the other is between the eye socket and the bridge of the nose. Let's take a look. It's roughly in this position. This one goes under the bridge of the nose. Regarding this point, it's the extension line of our cheekbone line underneath the bridge of the nose. There are 2 more points here actually. They can connect the upper line and the cheekbone line, 2 middle points. For example, I mark here. And here for the lower one. Also, there are some points on the nose that need to be marked. This is the highest one here. And the point between nose and mouth. And then there are 3 points on the nostril here, and this is the point above the nostril. The one in this lower corner. This one above. And then, here on the jaw, we also need to mark a point. Regarding this point, it's where our mouth opens, the pivot point of the jaw bone rotation, for instance. I'll roughly select these 2 points for marking. It generates a locator here when viewed from the side. It's likely the mouth opens like this. then this point is the position of our ear. And for the tongue, both upper and lower lines, controllers will be generated based on these upper and lower lines. The upper one. The lower one. And also the teeth, select a middle point for the upper and lower teeth each. Alright. We've finished marking the facial lines and points. Now, let's move on to the eyes section regarding the eyes. It actually involves the pupil and iris. The outermost circle represents the entire portion of the iris, for example. Let's select it. Shift plus to expand the selection, for instance, just this portion. And then, the middle part represents the pupil, approximately this part. Of course, if we're doing a gain level character, we don't need to mark these details. Alright, the structure of our character's head is now marked. Thanks for your watching, see you next time.